Hey, what is up, everyone? Hope you're having an amazing day and welcome back to the Simply Fitness podcast. Today's topic, what we're going to be talking about, is how to use a scale to succeed. So, we hear a lot, about body positivity, that you shouldn't be weighing yourself because it makes people feel bad. It makes you feel bad. It creates anxiety, stress abound, losing weight, gaining weight, and such. But that doesn't have to be the case. For some people, we'll talk about a little bit about how to overcome that anxiety of the scale and how to use it actually to succeed instead of using it as a tool for punishment, for creating that stress and anxiety, and how to overcome that. And like everything health and fitness, if going on the scale does create stress, anxiety, and starts making you unhealthy, then maybe it's time to take a step back, figure out why it's doing that. Maybe you do need to remove it completely, but that's not the case for most people. So let's dive into how to use the scale as a tool and less as a form of punishment or however you want to think about it. So one thing that I think that a lot of people on how they use the scale incorrectly and what can cause a lot of stress and anxiety is how frequently they weigh themselves. So let's talk about how we should be weighing ourselves, when we should be weighing ourselves, how frequently, and such. So, first thing, how often should you be weighing yourself? Daily, weekly, multiple times a day, monthly, or what's the case here? My recommendation is daily weighing for a whole host of reasons, one of which is that it's going to help you track your weight. By tracking your weight daily, you're able to see those trends. So let's give an example here. So say in a 7-day period, you weigh yourself 7 times. Let's say if on a weekly, you only did it on Fridays, say. So say if you weighed every day, on Monday you weighed 150, Tuesday 152, Wednesday 151, Thursday 149, and Friday 153. If you weighed in that week, you would think that you gained 3 pounds. That's not the case. If you weighed daily, you would see, you did hit a new low. You spiked back up, but that most likely means that you're going to drop back down at some point, and that's okay. So what most people would do here in that situation with 153, they would start to freak out a little bit and to not understand why that happens there. So that's why we want to weigh ourselves daily versus weekly. So when's the best time of day to weigh? Whatever is going to be the most frequent time is going to be the best time. I highly suggest mornings, right after you wake up, right after you go to the bathroom, weigh yourself. That's going to be the most consistent time to weigh yourself. It's going to be less affected by, how much you're eating, your water weight, and such. So I would stick with that time of day to do it. So why daily versus weekly? We just talked about it. It's harder to see those. We can have a spike at the end of the week and we can look like we gained 3 when we might have actually lost some weight or hit a new low, is because now you have more data. So the scale is a tool. It doesn't determine whether you succeed or fail with your weight loss. It just helps you tell if you're making progress or not and how your body is fluctuating and such. It helps you look at those trends. So there's a lot of apps out there. I use an app. Just track your weight. You can do an Excel sheet. It doesn't matter. It just helps you see that trend. And overall, if that trend is moving in the direction you want it to, whether it's weight loss or muscle gain, that's going to be the most important thing at the end of the day. Looking at that trend gives you a bigger idea, that macro picture, that whole entire thing, instead of this, that one daily weight. You can just It doesn't show you everything. It's not how it works. Your weight's going to fluctuate day to day. It's very unlikely I have 3 days in a row that you're going to weigh exactly the same thing each and every day. Some days you are going to spike. Some days you are going to decrease. Some days it's going to make sense why you spiked, and some days it's going to make absolutely no sense. That's okay. Don't be trying to guess your weight. Don't be trying to, put too much emotional energy into how much you weigh. Because at the end of the day, if your goal is weight loss, there are so many more important things than the number on that scale. Trust me. Are you feeling better? Do you have more energy? Do you feel more strength? Are you more confident in your body? Because just because you reach a certain number doesn't mean that any of those 4 questions I just asked are also true. So don't put too much emotional energy and wherewithal into that specific number. So some traps not to fall into when we're using the scale. We talked about a few right there. But that first one is don't use emotions with those numbers. Think of weighing yourself daily as data. You're just collecting data. It means nothing other than it's just a number on the scale. It's going to help you track your progress. That's it. It has no impact on who you are, what you're doing, anything like that. All it tells you is a number. It just tells you how much you weigh that day at that specific moment. It doesn't tell you whether you're a good or bad person. It doesn't tell you if you've been crushing your goals or not. All it tells you is that number. There are going to be days where you're going to crush everything. You're going to get your workout in. You're going to crush your calorie goal. Your macros are going to be perfect. And guess what the scale's going to do the next day? It's going to flip you the bird and spike that weight up. There are going to be days like that. And that's perfect. Like, that's okay. Like, there's no way we can try to explain it. There are a whole host of reasons of why your weight could have gone up. But at the end of the day, none of them really matter that much, because guess what? You crush that goal. You know what you're going to do that next day? You're going to crush it again. And you're going to continue crushing it, because that consistency with those actions is what's going to lead to you succeeding in the long term. And that's why that's why that number is just data. It's just data. And that's why we're going to look at this trend. And if that trend is going downwards, which is what you want when you're in weight loss, perfect. It doesn't matter about those individual spikes, because those spikes are going to happen. And you have to be okay with that. If you're not okay with that, then that is maybe a point where you have to take a step back, stop weighing yourself, start looking at some of the most intrinsic forms of weight loss through measurement, progress, how you feel, and such before you get back on the scale. Or even if you never step on the scale, that's okay. Just if you're not okay with those spikes happening and can't cope with it, then maybe the scale isn't the tool for you, but it can be very useful to just help you see those trends in the long term. So that's kind of the second point and second trap that you don't want to fall in, which is overreacting to those fluctuations. So when those fluctuations do happen, there are two things we can do. We can overreact, we can freak out, we can super restrict our diet, train our butts off it even harder in the gym, or we can stay consistent with those actions that we've been taking each and every day, knowing that those actions are going to lead to weight loss in the long term. There's no need to overreact. There's no need to dramatically cut your calories the next day. There's no need to run for 3 hours. There's no need, to throw everything away and say that your progress is lost because you had a little bit of a spike. That's okay. Most people's weights fluctuate anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds plus or minus their weight. That's okay. It could be because of water. It could be about the amount of salt you intake, how hard your workout was the next day, how much carbs you ate. It can be a whole host of reasons. That does not include, I didn't even include stress in there. It could be stress level, how much you slept. There are countless reasons why your weight could have spiked, none of which have to do with how consistent you were that day before. So keep on being consistent. If you know those actions are going to lead to the results you're looking for, you're eating in a calorie deficit, you're working out consistently and moving enough, getting enough sleep, you know the weight's going to come off. It's bound to come off. You have to give it time. You have to be patient with it. That's why the scale can be powerful. It can show you those trends. And if you give it time, you can say, okay, I've been consistent for the last 3 weeks. That trend is going down. Perfect. Let's stick with it. Let's keep going with this. 3 weeks, I've been consistent. It's kind of plateauing off. It hasn't really gone down too much. Okay, let's see. Maybe I have to change my calories. Maybe I need to change, something in my diet. Maybe now I need to add another workout in. Whatever it may be. But that's why we use the scale to track that. It's just another form of data. Just like progress pictures are, just like measuring how well you feel each and every day, waist circumference, body fat percentage. Same exact thing. It's just data. Let's figure out what we can do to help change that to where we want it to be. So, at the end of the day, end of the story, the scale is just a tool. It's a tool to help you collect data, to help see and track your progress. This isn't the only tool, but it is a powerful tool. And there's a lot of, no pun intended, weight thrown behind what that number is on the scale and how much you weigh. The first thing that we need to kind of look within ourselves to look at is understanding that it's just a number. It's just a number. And it might not be a number you like right now, but that's okay. But just know that there's no value in that number. That number doesn't control your self-worth. Just because it's lower doesn't mean that you're better. Just because it's higher doesn't make you better. That no matter what that number is on the scale, it's just a point of data. Okay, at this moment, at this day, I weigh X. I want to bring it down to Y, but today I weigh X. I'm going to do this, that, and the other to get there. And what really matters is those 3 actions that you're taking each and every day to get to that number. So focus in, again, on those actions, focusing less on those results. We're looking at that data to see those results, and we're tracking it to see the progress and making sure that those actions are leading us to where we want to be. But they're just numbers. It's just progress. It's just helping you determine whether or not those actions you are taking are working. So be okay with that number, with those numbers fluctuating day to day. Some days it might be higher, some days it might be lower. It's just data. Go with the flow. Stay consistent with those actions. If after 3 to 4 weeks you see those trends and you're like, it's not moving in the direction I want. I've only lost 2 pounds in 4 weeks. First of all, that's awesome. Any weight loss is, when a weight loss phase, is progress, which is awesome and is a downward trend. Perfect. Okay, let's maybe get a little bit more aggressive with our cut. Or you're happy with that progress and you continue on until you stop making that progress and then you want to change it up. That's okay. But that's why we collect this data. So we can make those decisions using our brain, being pragmatic about it, versus being emotional about it. Because it's just data. There's no emotion that needs to be put into it. What needs that emotion is, what actions are we taking? How does it make us feel? Are we getting stronger? Are we feeling better about ourselves? Are we, have more energy to do the things that we love to do? That's the time to get emotional. Like, why are we doing this? What actions are we taking? And what are we willing to, sacrifice or change up to get to where we want to be? But the data isn't the self-worth. That's not it. That doesn't determine whether you succeed or not. What determines whether you succeed or not is if you're taking those actions and being consistent with those over time. So, use that scale to help you succeed, help you track your progress. Don't use it to weigh out your self-worth, because that number is not determining how much you are worth. You are worth so much more than that number. You are so much more important to the people around you, to me, to everyone else as a person versus that number. That number is only data to help you track your progress, whether it be muscle gain, weight loss, maintenance, doesn't matter. That number does not affect who you are. And that's the biggest takeaway from this podcast. I hope you all have a great day. Please, please, please leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed this podcast. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know. I'm always happy to change up this process if there's some feedback. Love feedback. But again, leave that 5-star review on that Apple podcast. Greatly appreciated. If there's any topics you want covered, any questions that you have, slide into those DMs. My Instagram's there. My email's in the show notes. Send me an email. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Creating all this great content for you from the podcast, from YouTube, brand new, just Instagram content. So let me know there. Happy to answer any and all questions, whether it be in the podcast or just right to your DM. Hope you all have a great day. Let's keep crushing those goals, everybody.